Assalamu alaikum and hello everyone. This is your host Henna Zaberi and welcome back to another episode of Justice for All Now. You can watch us 24/7 on Muslim Network TV. Muslim Network TV airs on Galaxy 19, Roku, Amazon Fire TV, Apple TV, and various social media networks. Many of you may have heard the name Armenia or Azerbaijan or Nagorno-Karabakh, but they may seem like far-off places that don't affect your daily lives. But it's very important, just as we shine light on things that are happening to Muslim minorities worldwide, we pay close attention to this region. And to help us figure out and explain what is going on in that region right now, I would really am honored to invite our guest, Dr. Ismail Alakbarov. Dr. Ismail Alakbarov, thank you so much for joining us. He's the executive director of the Network of Azerbaijani Canadians, an umbrella organization combining Canadian Azerbaijanians, community organizations, cultural centers, and the diaspora institutions. He's a former diplomat and has served in the UN and other international organizations in Geneva. We're so thoroughly grateful for you to be here, and welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you, Hina. It's a great pleasure for me to talk to you about what's going on in the region. And I'm going to elaborate a bit on the reality, the truth, and also a little bit humanitarian, legal, and historical background of Nagorno-Karabakh conflict, and particularly with focus on the humanitarian issue of the process.
Definitely. And so for many of us, it seems like this conflict suddenly erupted out of nowhere. Those of us who may not be following it closely on a day-to-day basis, please explain to us the history and background of this conflict and what is transpiring at this moment in that region.
Thank you, Hina. Before going into the history or the little bit historical context to the process, let me give you what's going on at this very moment. At this very moment, at this very minute, there is a shelling and firing of long-range rockets by Armenian armed forces from the Republic of Armenia to the civil settlements of Azerbaijan in various locations. So that is, this is called in the modern terminology terrorism. This is the terrorist attack on civilians and violating all existing Geneva Conventions and making war crimes. Because one way is you are having military to military in the military operations, but another issue is here Armenian armed forces firing or shelling their long-range missiles, rockets, cluster bombs, not from the military zone, but from the Republic of Armenia to the civil settlements of Azerbaijan, which are located far from the conflict zone. They started it from last week, but during the last few days, it's overnight at 2 a.m., while people sleeping in their beds in the second largest city of Azerbaijan, Ganja, they fired rockets and missiles, and there are huge casualties, and the missiles hit in the downtown of apartment buildings, and we have got dozens of killed and hundreds of people injured. They have been hospitalized, and this is a war crime. Secondly, using your platform, I want to make it clear to our bigger and wider audience about this conflict. This is called Nagorno-Karabakh conflict. Let me make it clear that Azerbaijan is having at the moment its military operations in its internationally recognized territory called Nagorno-Karabakh and 7 adjacent regions, which have been occupied by Armenia. And we started over 2 decades a peace process with them, getting nowhere, and Armenians provocating many times, attacking in the contact zone and in the territories far from the contact zone, Azerbaijani military and civilians, and making provocations. And this all triggers by the fact that Armenia having their new land grab doctrine, which was announced by their high-rank officials last year as part of the defense doctrine of Armenia, that they're going to grab new territories in the South Caucasus. And therefore, they are attacking and provocating so that Azerbaijan counterattacks. And in that sense, they go and using their diaspora, because they have a very strong diaspora across the world who are helping them a lot at the moment, based on groundless, unfair, and fake news, the diaspora converts all this process into a big propaganda, unfair propaganda against Azerbaijan. Now, important message here is at this very moment of time, we have shelling of Azerbaijani civilians by Armenian armed forces. Second, the whole operations is being conducted in the international recognized territory of Azerbaijan. Let me give you a bit of context. Both Armenia and Azerbaijan used to be republics as part of USSR. And after the collapse and breakup of USSR, both countries declared their independence. And Azerbaijan got accepted to the United Nations in 1992 within this territory, within the territory of Nagorno-Karabakh and surrounding regions. However, there is in Nagorno-Karabakh Armenian minorities, Armenian population living there for about 200 years. They have been immigrated from various countries like Iraq, current Iraq, Syria, and other territories in that region. And they have been brought to the various locations, and including Nagorno-Karabakh. And by the time of the conflict in that particular region, around 70% Armenians and 30% Azerbaijani people. But in the adjacent regions, the 7 adjacent regions that have been occupied by Armenia, it's 99% Azerbaijani, ethnic Azerbaijanis and Muslim Azerbaijanis are living there. And so what happened? After the collapse of USSR, Armenia started their, declaring these minorities in that enclave, declared their independence. And they wanted to create their own independent state, right? And which is not.
Okay. I wanted to ask you, so approximately we're looking at about a population of 150,000 people. Those are the official numbers. Is it wider, more than that? Or could you give us some insight on that?
The Armenian population in the region is 150,000 living in Nagorno-Karabakh. So this 150,000 people living in Nagorno-Karabakh expelled from Nagorno-Karabakh and Azerbaijan, 7 regions of Azerbaijan, 760,000 Azerbaijanis. So 760,000 Azerbaijanis were expelled by 150 Armenians in early 1990s, and all the 760,000 Azerbaijanis with other refugees from Republic Armenia, summing up over 1 million people, they became IDPs, internal displaced persons, inside of their homeland, inside of their country. And Armenia occupied this territory. Armenian armed forces in Karabakh, maybe at the moment there are intensive fights and war, escalated war going on there. maximum 10% of the armed forces are Nagorno-Karabakh. 90% of the armed forces, I mean, in terms of the number of people, they are the citizens of Republic of Armenia. So Armenian Republic sends their fighters, and also they send terrorist groups from various countries, from Lebanese, from Syria, from Iraq, from all those places where there are terrorists. There are over 16 internationally recognized terrorist organizations, Armenian terrorist organizations across the world. I can name all of them, but I don't want to take too much of your time. And they are called, one of them is ASALA, Armenian Liberation Terrorist Organization. They have got a bigger Armenia dream for the last 100 years, and they are spread across the world, and they have got the imagination that they want to build a greater Armenia from Caspian Sea to Black Sea and to capture all these the regions. And they have been brought, as I told you. Let me go to the history. Let's go back to the early 19th century. Early 19th century, before early 19th century, there were almost no Armenians living in that place, in Nagorno-Karabakh, and also in Armenia's Republic of Armenia, the capital being Yerevan. Okay, you know, the etymology of all these wordings, like Nagorno-Karabakh, Yerevan, all these toponyms are Turkic. We are Turkic originally, so all these toponyms are Turkic, Azerbaijani toponyms. You cannot name any Armenian king or any Armenian sort of hero from that region because they didn't exist. Armenians have been purposely brought to Nagorno-Karabakh by the Russian Empire, starting from early 19th century. Let me give you facts, because Armenians diaspora, their propaganda, they're just making imaginations without giving any facts. Whereas, let me give you facts and let's make a judgment out of there. The early 19th century, in 1804, there was a treaty between the province of Nagorno-Karabakh, which was Azerbaijanis. It's called Khanate, right? Ibrahim Khalil Khanate. This is a treaty of Turakçay, right? 1804, with Russian Empire. That Russian Empire sort of invaded this Khanate. And there was no Armenians there. There was no mention of any Armenian name in that treaty. This is an internationally recognized treaty. It's in the internet. You can go and search it. It's Turakçay Treaty between the ruler of Nagorno-Karabakh, which is Azerbaijani, and the population is Azerbaijanis, and the Russian Empire. That Russian Empire captures this territory, right? And after that, there are another treaty, Turkmenchai Treaty. It's 1812. After that, there is another treaty. It's called Gülistan, is 1812, and the Turkmenchai, 1828. And all these treaties are legal documents in the archives, and it's all accessible to the world community to go and search to see. And all started after these treaties. So Russians started to influence this region starting from 200 years ago. Why? Because during those times, there was a big Ottoman Empire, and ethnic Azerbaijanis and Turks are very close brothers, and we are almost same ethnic nation and two states with Turkey across the world. So using this, and the Russian Empire started to immigrate the Christian Armenians from various regions. They have been living historically. We're not claiming that they have been Armenians. Armenians used to live in different territories that I mentioned a little bit ago. So they brought all this to create a buffer zone against Ottoman Empire, starting from early 19th century. All started from there. And they started to expel Azerbaijanis, and not only in 20th century, but starting from 19th century. And Azerbaijan declared independence in 1918, and Armenia declared their independence in 1918, the Democratic Republic of Azerbaijan. And Democratic Republic of Azerbaijan's territory was 114,000 square kilometers in 1918. In 1920, Bolsheviks invaded Azerbaijan, and they gave part of Azerbaijan, which is currently Armenia, they gave part of that time Azerbaijan to the Republic of Armenia. So Azerbaijan's territory diminished or reduced from 114,000 square kilometers to 86.8 thousand square kilometers. And after 70 years, after the collapse, they invaded again 20% of Azerbaijan. So this is their so-called salami tactics, and they want to grab more and more. And within few more decades, they want to swipe out all these, countries, and establish their imagination crazy big Armenia, which is totally against everything. Now, after the I'm not hearing you. Can you unmute yourself?
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
A lot of times this conflict is framed in a Christian versus Muslim conflict. Is this an interfaith, a communal conflict, or is this purely about the region, about the land, about the historical access to that land?
Armenians try to capture it and package it as if this is a religious context, but this is not the truth. Let me tell you, in the Azerbaijan is one of the examples of multiculturalism across the world. Mm-hmm. In the Republic of Azerbaijan, there are Jewish communities, there are Muslim communities, and other Orthodox communities, every community having their religion, and they live in peace, in stability, in friendship and brotherhood with Azerbaijanis. We don't have any issue in Azerbaijan with any ethnic people there. We are one of the multinational countries in the world, and Azerbaijanis there. Let me tell you, we have got 30,000 Armenians living in Azerbaijan. 30,000 ethnic Armenians currently live in Baku, in the capital of Azerbaijan, and across the country. But there is no one single Azerbaijani living in the Republic of Armenia. In Azerbaijan, we have got more than 100 ethnic minorities who also have been targeted and at the moment being killed by Armenian separatists and Armenian terrorists. This is purely not a religious conflict. This is the conflict triggered by the fact that Armenia won't occupy the territory of Azerbaijan. As I told you, internationally recognized territory. Let me highlight here. There are 4 United Nations Security Council resolutions demanding unconditionally, immediately, and completely withdrawal of Armenian occupied territories from the region, from Nagorno-Karabakh. But Armenia has never been complying with this. United Nations 4 Security Council resolutions of 1994 demands immediate, unconditional, and complete withdrawal of Armenian armed forces from the occupied territories, which is not happening. And Azerbaijan is one of the economically developed regional countries. We used to be one of the high economic growth potential countries all the world during the last few decades, because there are huge economic growth in the country. So Azerbaijan is a very peaceful nation by itself, and Azerbaijani leadership decided to go for peace negotiations, started from 1994. So on one hand, Armenians occupy the territory. They control it physically with the support of the Republic of Azerbaijan, Republic of Armenia, and the diaspora, and their supporters and allies from the region. And Azerbaijan would have used force to liberate those territories if we wanted military operations, starting from early 90s. And Armenia is 2 million population. Azerbaijan, 10 million population. So we could have started military operations to liberate those territories and get occupants and invaders out of the occupied lands 20 years ago. But we didn't do that. Why? Because Azerbaijan is in favor of peace. We don't want war. If we wanted war, we could have continued war with Armenia. And there was a peace negotiation process. There is Organization of Security in Europe, OSCE, Minsk Group is assigned to this from the international fora. And there are three co-chairs, Russia, France, and United States. These are co-chairs of Minsk Group who are mediating this process for over the 2 decades. And, let me give you an interesting story here. During last over 2 decades, this peace negotiation has been on the table. And they were 7 rounds of negotiation. So 7 times they started from scratch. So this is quite a big conflict with war, escalated war behind. So it takes 3, 4, 5 years, each increment of negotiation. And we were just close to achieve agreement with Armenians with the participation of these 3 countries, Russia, Turkey, Russia, France, and United States. We're just close to achieving a peace agreement. Armenians withdraw from this process 7 times over the last 20 years. And the current war triggered by the escalation and tension caused by Armenians again. Let me give you the recent escalation context. Starting from early July, and 12th of July, Armenian armed forces, not from Nagorno-Karabakh, from their own territories, we have got a border with Armenia, they started shelling our civilian settlements and Azerbaijan's military stations there. And it became a 4-day sort of a skirmish there, fighting. And we had loss of civilians, casualties to civilians and military. Okay. So this was a provocation by Armenians because they are
one of the things
not attacking from Nagorno-Karabakh, they are attacking from the Republic of Armenia in August, after 1 month.
I want to ask you,
they're sending group of sabotage to Azerbaijan. Yeah.
So
can I continue?
I wanted to, yes, I wanted to just put this in context here for those of us here in the United States. One of the things that has recently happened is that here, Congressman Brad Sherman, who is the head of the Foreign Relations Committee here in the United States, has asked for global Magnitsky sanctions against Azerbaijani leadership on what they say is transpiring in that region. So, and that means that's really concerning, because that means only one side of the conflict is being paid attention to by the Americans. So could you share with us if there's been any support or any sort of movement here in the United States or in Canada, letting the governments over here know or hear the perspective of the Azerbaijanians?
Yes, there is at the moment of a time, there is big propaganda conducted by Armenians. So that propaganda is sponsored by Armenians and pro-Armenian lobbyists across the world, and particularly in North America and United States and Canada. So let me give you a bit of context from our Canadian perspective. We are relatively new diaspora here in Canada, but we have got already a platform speaking on behalf of our 25 plus organizations and 20,000 ethnic Azerbaijanis from Republic of Azerbaijan and 50,000 Azerbaijanis from different countries. We have got a big Azerbaijani community in Iran. There are more than 30 to 35 million Azerbaijanis living in Iran. So we've got up to 70, more than 70,000 Azerbaijani community here in Canada. But you can't believe the challenge we're facing here in Canada, in mass media, in political circles, authorities, because everybody is bombarded with fake news, groundless facts from Armenians. Armenians being penetrated to mass media, being penetrated to legislative bodies of this North America, like United States and Canada. They are manipulating to create unfair and biased approach to politicians. It includes the congressmen and governmental officials, members of parliaments, and media representatives, both in the United States and Canada. So using your platform, we want to, on behalf of these thousands of Azerbaijanis living across the world, we want to appeal to all these people who have been, let's call it, victims of unfair and groundless Armenian propaganda. Mm. You feel free to air whatever you are told to do, whatever you are financially, whatever you finance to do, but you also give us a chance to be heard. In many occasions, let me give you one example. Here in Canada, we are facing the biggest challenge that sometimes mass media are not giving us access. The Montreal Gazette, they published Armenian fake-based, unfair and lies in their publishing, in their news. 3 days ago, they have also talked to us. We have spoken to them, we have explained it, and they promised that we're going to publish the same in Montreal Gazette. But a few hours ago, we're talking to them saying, hey, we're not seeing. You are taking one side, you are publishing all the Armenian made stories. But where is Azerbaijani side of the story? Well, you know what we are being told? We're not interested. This is against all humanitarian rights. This is against right of speech. This is against right of being heard. This is against all rights in all its forms, which we are living at the moment here in North America. This is exactly the same in United States and Canada. So I know that your platform is aired across the world, in Canada, in the United States, in Mexico, in various televisions and internet TVs, and in social media. Using the opportunity, I am appealing to everybody, to the world community. At this point of time, at this moment that I'm talking to you, civilian people in the nighttime are being killed on long-range missile attacks. This is different story. One way is we are having military operations, fighters to fighters, military to military in Nagorno-Karabakh. Let them fight there. But the problem here is Armenia going against to all humanitarian legal framework, existing framework, and international legal fora. They're firing and shelling Azerbaijan's civilian settlement. Let me give you another example. Azerbaijani air defense are destroying their long-range ballistic rockets. You know, these are ballistic rockets. We have got facts. By the way, I'm calling all mass media to go to our Facebook page called Network of Azerbaijani Canadians. We're trying to disseminate all the real information with facts through our media platform in Facebook. It's called the Network of Azerbaijani Canadians. So if Azerbaijani air defense can fail in destroying Armenia's ballistic rocket fires, you know what's going to happen? Because one of the settlements that they're targeting and they're shelling these rockets is called Mingechevir. Mingechevir is located 400 kilometers far from conflict zone. It's a civilian settlement, industrial city with the biggest water reservoir in South Caucasus, the largest water reservoir and the biggest power station. They are targeting Mingechevir with 400,000 population there. If they hit Mingechevir power station, 400 civilian people will be swiped out overnight.
So
Let
that's
me
the
repeat.
humanitarian crisis
If
that
they,
you are.
if Azerbaijani air defense, for some reason, for some technical reason, fails to destroy the rockets, ballistic rockets, which are prohibited under Geneva Conventions to shell on the civilian settlements. If for some technical reason, Azerbaijani armed forces, I believe that they're going to fail, because Azerbaijani army is one of the strongest armies, not only in the region, but in the world. Azerbaijan possesses.
Well, that's your question,
Yes.
Dr. Ismail. So one of the humanitarian crises that you are afraid of is if that water reservoir is attacked, that will affect thousands and millions of people around in that area. What are some of the other humanitarian concerns that your organization and your community has?
This Nagorno-Karabakh war is at the moment between Azerbaijan and Armenia, and Azerbaijan fights in its own territory, internationally recognized territory of Azerbaijan, which is recognized by all the states, including United States and Canada and Armenia. Armenia also recognized Azerbaijan's territorial integrity. And Azerbaijan's territorial integrity includes Nagorno-Karabakh and adjacent regions. Now, let me move to the humanitarian context. But if the situation escalates further, if Armenia doesn't liberate those occupied territories and continues hitting those civilians, these largest civilian settlements of Azerbaijan, like Ganja, 500,000 people, like Mingechevir, 500,000, Chizi Mingechevir, 400,000 people, and other big cities that there are dozens of civilian settlements across Azerbaijan that they're firing all this Russian-made, Russian-granted for free. Let me make it clear. All this military equipment that Armenia is using are Russian-made, Russian-granted military equipment. The neighboring country, Georgia, in South Caucasus, they closed the borders, that we're not going to be using our border to supply Russian military to Armenia. So what Armenia is doing, what Russia is doing, Russia is sending their missiles, their military kits to Iran, and from Iran, this is, we have got information and facts, and from Iran, they are sending all this military to the Republic of Armenia. So what Armenia is doing, Armenia is being militarized by Russia. And but what Azerbaijan is doing, what Azerbaijan is doing, Azerbaijan is liberating already occupied territories. And part of the occupied territories has already been liberated. Armenians have been losing their people there. They have mobilized separatists, terrorists, as I told you, from different countries, from Syria, from Lebanon, terrorist organizations. We have got video material. They're making declarations. They're making announcements that we are calling all Lebanese terrorist organizations, all this PKK, all these internationally recognized terrorist organizations, armed forces are being, at this point of time, mobilized to Nagorno-Karabakh. They're killing civilians there. And there is a huge humanitarian catastrophe, which is going to become a conflict and a tragedy beyond regional context. There's going to be a huge humanitarian context for countries like Canada, for United States, because Armenians have got allegations against Turkey about genocide, which never existed. There was, in the history, fights between two communities, and they killed each other in Turkey and in different locations. And using this platform, let me tell you that Armenians killed over 200,000 Azerbaijani, ethnic Azerbaijanis in the Republic of Azerbaijan in 1918. But they are alleging Turkey and others as if they have been killed there.
Okay,
But we are a peaceful nation, and this was a history. I don't want to go to that history. We are now in the modern world. Armenians have got allegations on genocide, but they are making their own genocide against ethnic Azerbaijanis. Let me give you example from modern humanitarian context. 1992, Armenians acted genocide in Khojaly. 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 You make a research, make the search in Google, and you see what they did there. They swiped out in Khojaly town 600 up to 700 civilians, elderly, women, children, 1,000 people. They swiped out all these people, killed with no guns, with no weapons, on the tanks, right? So Armenians have been doing ethnic cleansing just because we are Azerbaijanis, just because we live there, just because Armenia wants to grab new territories to build their imaginative great Armenia.
As this time is short and we wanted to touch a few other points, one of the things that I wanted to ask you, how much does oil and gas play into this conflict? We understand that there is a pipeline that runs through that region, and this exports oil as well as a gas pipeline in that region as well. How much is this about control of that pipeline?
Okay. Azerbaijan is one of the energy-rich, oil and gas-rich countries in the world. There have been huge oil and gas developments in Azerbaijan over last 2 decades. Mm-hmm. All international multinational companies, US companies, British companies, and all across the world, French companies, they operate in Azerbaijan in development of oil and gas resources. Mm-hmm. Azerbaijan provides security, energy security of European Union, and one of the active players in that arena for last 2 decades. Azerbaijan has got infrastructure built through Azerbaijan, Georgia, Turkey, Greece, Italy. And from Italy, Azerbaijan supplies oil and gas to European Union. Mm-hmm. And Azerbaijan has got highest possible level strategic alliance, strategic partnership with European Union in energy. Mm-hmm. And we offered to Armenia many times that you liberate those territories and let's return our 1 million refugees to displaced people to the region, and let's build reconciliation there with Armenians. And then you open your territory and we build all these pipelines from Armenia, not bypassing Armenia. All this pipeline infrastructure bypass Armenia. All energy and transport infrastructure, regional infrastructure, Armenia has been bypassed. Why? Because of their occupation of Azerbaijani land. So, therefore, they want to use this, and Azerbaijan is becoming wealthy because we got huge oil and gas developments, huge infrastructure buildings. We're cooperating with Russia, with Iran, with China, European Union, building. We are pioneering, initiating all this regional infrastructure there. But Armenia has been held aside of all this process. So what they're doing is, again, provocating, again, hitting, they are targeting these regional oil and gas pipelines. Can you imagine what will happen if they have got an oil spill in these pipelines? There have been times where they've been supplying 1 million barrels of oil a day through Baku Tbilisi Ceyhan pipeline. 1 million barrels of oil a day. What if this 1 million barrels of oil is exploded by the cluster bombs, by the missiles from Republic of Armenia? Can you imagine the magnitude? Can you imagine the humanitarian catastrophe in the region? There will be huge environmental damage, and there will be needed tens of years. It will be bigger impact than Chernobyl nuclear issue for the world. If there is damage to the oil and gas infrastructure, the pipeline, which they're making all these provocations. By the way, the July 12th, the July 12th, few months ago, skirmish was triggered by the fact that Armenians that Armenians were firing, targeting, particularly to those pipelines, oil and gas pipelines, which Azerbaijani air defense destroy all these cluster bombs in the air. As I told you, using the opportunity, let me make it clear, because Armenians alleging as if Azerbaijan brought mercenaries from, I don't know, from some countries, but there is no single fact. The president of Azerbaijan
This is something that has
declared that, I'm sorry.
This is something that has been brought against the Turkish government here in the United States. I've heard, read news articles about this, that they're accusing the Turkish government of bringing in mercenaries and to fight in this conflict. Now, as a leader who's been, of the diaspora, who's been monitoring the situation, what do you think are the best next steps to de-escalate the situation, for the betterment of the region, of everybody who's living?
Thank you. Let me say a few words about the Turkish context, because it is very important that the world community hears and gets this unbiased, real truth. Turkey and Azerbaijanis, we are ethnically the same nation, okay? And historically, we have had brotherhood. In this conflict, Turkey officially declared that they are not party to the conflict. There is no single Turkish fighter in the military zone. Yes, we have got military cooperation with Turkey, the same military cooperation we have with Russia. Yes, we have every year trainings, joint trainings, military trainings with Russia, with Russian army, with Turkish army, with Israeli army, with Ukrainians, everybody. Azerbaijan has got military cooperation with 20 plus countries across the world. But Armenians, and this is against their part of their global propaganda, they want to bring Turkey to the context. They are making provocations. So Turkey is not a part of the conflict. Turkey is not sending any armed forces there. We have got military humanitarian cooperation like with 20 other countries, right? So this is about Turkey. Now let me tell you what is the way out. What is the way out to achieve ceasefire, to achieve peace and stability in the region? Azerbaijan, let me refer to the official speech of Azerbaijani President Ilham Aliyev on CNN, on Euronews, on Al Jazeera, and many other international media platforms. Azerbaijani official made it very clear. The territory, Nagorno-Karabakh, and 7 adjacent regions are internationally recognized territories of Azerbaijan. United Nations Security Council issued 4 resolutions demanding immediate, unconditional, and complete withdrawal of Armenians from armed forces from the region. This is the second. So this needs to happen. And the third, we Azerbaijanis appeal using this platform to Armenians living in the United States and Canada and other countries. We see big violence caused by Armenian rallies, Armenian sort of protests. Yesterday, Armenians' big car rally caused a big violence here. On the street, they noticed Azerbaijani is driving a car because they noticed that this is Azerbaijani. They hit Azerbaijani's car, they injured the car, they injured this person, and the police came there, and police rated this as hate crime. We are appealing to Armenian diaspora here. On behalf of Azerbaijani community of Canada, on behalf of 20,000 Canadian Azerbaijanis here in Canada, I am appealing to Canadian diaspora. And using your platform, I am appealing to United States diaspora, leaders of Armenians. Let's reconcile these two nations, because sooner or later, Azerbaijan is going to liberate those territories. Azerbaijan refers to the United Nations Charter, Article number 51. Use defending your country's territory by use of force. Azerbaijan is not targeting any other country's lands. Azerbaijan doesn't need any millimeter territory of Armenia. What Azerbaijan wants is bring 1 million refugees, and Armenians can come back. We live in reconciliation. We live in peace. We invite Armenia to do joint projects, energy projects, transportation projects, humanitarian projects. And by these, we give an example of reconciliation of two nations to the world community. So that we can live together. We have a ground to say that.
Your call right now is to peace, right? Your call right now is to peace. And I just noticed that even celebrities like Kim Kardashian are becoming a part of this. She just made a $1 million donation to the Armenia Fund. And this is, this narration of peace is not being highlighted. Even if as you look at the Twitter feuds between the two diaspora, many of the younger, especially the younger generation, are not highlighting this call for peace. And this is really important. And I wanted to highlight that what you just said right now, that this offer of the diaspora spreading peace, and then the diaspora spreading joint projects. This is something very important, and that's something that I haven't seen. So this call is great. Please go on.
Yeah, thank you. You mentioned a very important point here, because what we are hearing from those people, diaspora and lobbyists, spreading violence, spreading hate, which is not acceptable. Using your platform, I am appealing to Kim Kardashian. I am appealing to every single congressman, senator, or any authority of United States. I am appealing to the political authorities of Canada. I am appealing to pro-Armenian lobbyists, members of parliament in Canada like Rachel Harder, like Peter Kent, and some others that I don't want to name all these people. They are making statements clearly bringing hate on top of the agenda by recognizing Artsakh, called Artsakh. Artsakh is not recognized by anybody in the world. I am appealing to those people not to bring clash, whereas they have got a very good mandate to bring these two communities to peace. We Azerbaijanis are appealing. I'm calling on Armenian community not to go at violence. Thank you very much for giving this platform to us.
Thank you so much for being here, and we hope to avoid those casualties and hope for a peaceful resolution. For people who want to learn more about this, we had Muslim Network TV had another show on Armenia with our UN show, UN This Week show, that that was on this conflict. So it's going to be on October 13th at 4:30 p.m. Please do watch that. And thank you so much to all of you for being here. For those of you who watch and support Muslim Network TV, you should know that our parent organization, Sound Vision, is having an online fundraiser this weekend on October 17th. And we invite all of you to join in helping tomorrow's Muslims today. This fundraiser is specifically targeting children's education, children's programming for American, Canadian, American Muslim children and Canadian Muslim children. So please join in. Thank you so much. Assalamu alaikum.